Welcome to Acton in Focus. I'm Vivian Kopsinje-Birchall, your host, and with me is a special guest, Chief Anita Anam. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
It's a pleasure, always a pleasure to have conversations with you because you're the Chief of Safety, I dare say, in Acton. And for today, we're talking about safety on the ice. So a couple days ago, I spoke with Bettina about the need for residents to stay off the ice because of the recent accidents. But today we want to focus. I got a question where a resident said, "Whoa, that's sound of ice. The sound of ice." So a resident asked, "What happens if they fall in ice? How can they stay safe?" And over to you, Chief Anita.
Okay, so first I'll start off by reiterating we don't consider any pond or lake ice safe. The conditions change day to day, and it's just not a safe place. I know a lot of people grow up on skating on ponds, but climate change and everything makes it difficult to know whether or not the ice is safe. But if you do fall in, first thing is don't panic. First of all, when you fall in, there's going to be a shock to your system. If you can, call for help. Any clothing you have on, make sure you keep it on, don't remove it. Sometimes people will want to take their clothing off, think they can get out easier, safer, but I would recommend keeping your clothing on because it helps insulate you. When you're wet, you lose heat 25 times faster than when you're dry, so you're going to lose heat very quickly. Turn to the direction in which you came. So if you're on the ice and you're walking out, you fall in, turn back to the direction from whence you came, because that's where most likely the stronger ice is going to be. Try and put your hands up on the ice shelf and keep yourself above water. If you can do that and kick and get a leg up, if you get one leg up, if you can just try and roll out of the ice where you fell. Once you do get out, if you're able to get out, do not stand up because you want to spread your weight out. So you want to roll back to shore where you came from. Once you do get out of the water, you want to make sure that you find shelter. You're going to have to get out of your cold, wet clothes and get warmed up. Certainly, hopefully someone came for your call to help, or you were with somebody who could call for help. We really strongly advocate that if one person goes in, that nobody else tries to go out and rescue them. That just makes the problem that much worse. More people fall in. And there's cases over history where multiple people end up either drowning or being seriously injured from hypothermia trying to rescue. And we in the fire department, we have proper equipment to come out and go out and get you, or we will also go out and get an animal such as a pet dog if they fall through, because we don't want you going out there. So
Right.
But animals for the most part a lot of times are able to get themselves out. If someone else falls in, so say you're out here, you're walking your dog and someone else falls in, it's really important to follow the preach, reach, throw, and go. That's what we try to tell people. First of all, try and yell to the person, try and say, hey, we're calling help. Try and get your arms up and all those things I just told you. Keep your head above the water, etc. So preach, throw. If there's a rope or a long stick that you can reach out, you want to reach out, throw something to them. Even if it's a big stick that you can't reach them with, throw it out there. It's something else that they can use to hang on to. And then preach by yelling at them, letting them know. Reach with whatever materials you can. Throw something to them, and go means go get help. It does not mean go out there. If you're on the shore and you see someone fall on the ice, it's really important also, if you need to leave, that you drop something where you saw them go in. The reason that is we're here in one spot right now, but if you leave and come back and don't know where you saw them, and you tell me from over there, it's going to be a different angle.
Okay.
So it's important that you drop something where you are, go get help if you need to, or guide people in to get help, and go from there.
Yeah, there's so many follow-up questions that I have from that. What happens if somebody does not have swimming skills and they fall in the pond? How can they stay safe?
Okay, so you don't have to have swimming skills necessarily to reach up and hang on to the ice shelf or to kick your feet. So the other thing you should try and do is try and stand up. Sometimes these ponds are not all that deep, so try and stand up. See if you can stand up. If you can't, it's really important to try and keep your arms on the ice shelf. The other thing that happens with hypothermia is you're going to find that you're not going to have dexterity anymore. and
What's that?
Being able to use your hands.
Okay.
So, so little things like even just if someone happens to have a rope and trying to hang on to it, you may not be able to do so because you're going to get cold so quickly that your brain wants to do it, but you're not going to be able to. Your extremities and then your whole body is going to start cooling down very quickly, and your core is going to try and conserve all of that warm blood rather than sending out to your extremities to work.
Right. And then the other question that somebody asked was if you fell in the pond and for some reason your body glided away from where you fell in and there is hard ice above your head, what do you do? That's
a very tough one. So if you feel like you're falling through the ice, first thing you can do is spread your arms out. So hopefully you're not going to go below the ice and go underneath. Again, you want to try not to panic. That's very hard when you're plunged into cold water. And the other thing is you want to try and hold your breath if you feel like you're going in, because the first thing your body's going to want to do is take a deep breath in because of that cold. So it is going to be a shock to the system, and you want to do everything you can. But if you go underneath, you're going to have to just try and feel back where the opening is. The other thing that unfortunately happens sometimes is what's called trapdoor ice, where there's a piece of ice that flaps down when you go in and it flaps back up.
Oh.
So that's very dangerous. It's very difficult to get yourself, you can't get yourself up from that. So that's another reason not to go on pond ice in the wintertime.
Right. And then the other question I had is for tips on what people should have with them when they're walking near ponds, just in case something happens, because accidents do happen, even with all these safety tips. What are some of the tips you give for walkers to have on them?
So always you want to have a cell phone with you if you can. So if you witness somebody else going in, you can call for help. A lot of people are probably not going to carry a rope with them or anything like that, but depending upon what you're doing, some sort of a rope or a belt or something, because sometimes it's just a few feet in, and if you can reach and try and give them some assistance, that's great, but do not go out on the ice yourself. That just, as I said, that just creates more of a problem for people.
Then of course some of us watch too many movies, and you find like somebody has like a hard object on them that they try to use to hit the ice so that it breaks. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'll give you another idea. If you're out walking, rather than having a hard, sharp object, they do make what's called ice picks. And remember the mittens on a string? So it's 2 ice picks on a string. If you happen to fall through the ice, you can grab those and get a handle up and getting on top of the ice. And if you're out with that and somebody else goes in, you can try and throw it out to them to try and get themselves up out of the ice. Ice is very slippery. When you're wet, it's that much more slippery. If it's cold and windy, even if you can get your arms up, your clothing might actually freeze to the ice to help hold you above the surface.
Right. I'm just curious now regarding the techniques you guys have for saving somebody who's falling through ice. How long does it take to train to be able to do that, to help victims?
Well, we go through a lot of training because we'll talk about the formation of ice, we'll talk about the thickness of ice, we'll talk about good ice, bad ice, things like that. So there's probably a couple of hours of education first, and then after that we talk about the equipment we have. We have what's called dry immersion suits. So they'll learn how to put on the suit. We will have those ice picks. We'll be teaching them how to hook into their ropes, because we can hook in from the front or we can hook in from the back, and usually we'll do both. We'll hook in from the front and then take another loop and hook in from the back. And what that helps us with is if somebody goes in under the ice or in the ice and then starts floating towards open water, we can adjust and be pulled back with the victim on our backs, or we can be pulled back if we go into the hole where the victim is and we're going to boost them up from the front. So there's a lot of different techniques. We also have grab poles, where it's a long pole with a loop on it. We can put that over the victim's wrist. We'll twist it so it tightens down, and then we can use that to pull them out. Ladders, hose, there's a bunch of different ways that we can go out and do that. And the folks were just out training on the ice not too long ago. It's been cold over the last several days, so the ice is a little thicker. Again, I don't recommend that people go out on it, but even for us, when we train, we want to train on the thin ice that forms early or late in the season.
Yeah. And then I guess one of the final questions I have is if somebody managed to get themselves out of the icy pond and they found themselves on dry land or on land, what can they do next? If they don't have a cell phone or if they have hypothermia of some level and can't use their fingers.
I would certainly yell for help as best you can. Try and get somebody's attention. If you can't get up and walk, just rolling is sometimes easier. Just try and get yourself in a situation where people are going to see you. A park like this today, there's dog walkers that come by from time to time.
Yeah.
The other idea is you probably shouldn't be going out in the woods or where there's ponds alone. Make sure you have somebody with you and tell somebody where you're going to be. Let people know, hey, I'm going for a walk in the woods. I'm going to go around this lake. And if for some reason you end up, venturing out onto the ice and having a problem, at least people know where you were headed.
Right. And so is there anything that we haven't talked about regarding the safety that you can think of?
I think we hit on a number of subjects. Again, just be careful going. We don't recommend going out on pond ice. I know a lot of people grew up in this area wanting to skate on ponds. I've done it myself. I've been out on the ice as a kid, and we've had neighbors go through the ice, so it happens frequently. If you don't know your pond, you don't know where the deep water is, you don't know if it's spring-fed, you don't know if there's certain things under the ice that will cause it to be thinner. It's really important that you know where you are, know what the elements are, and for full safety, stay off the ice.
Stay off the ice. I like that. And with that, I would like to say thank you so much for spending the time to come educate us on how to be safe if we fell off the ice.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Stay safe out there and enjoy the winter. Stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Anita. And to our viewers, I hope you got some tips on how to stay safe. If you found yourself under ice, just follow the tips that Chief Anita has given us. But for now, thank you for watching. Until next time.